What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, as always, is Callum Wiggins.
Oh, Canada.
Uh,
Something, something, something.
Yeah, something maple syrup, something land. Blame,
Landstorm is our god.
blame Canada. I know the lyrics to that one more.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. We are talking NXT TakeOver Toronto. It's the second one with that title, and we are going to break down the 5, potentially 6 matches that are on the card. They specified one of them that may or may not actually be on the card, and we're going to talk about our usual kind of stuff here. What do we think is going to happen? Who do we think is going to win? What are we excited about? What are we not excited about? All that other kind of stuff. And we invite you to do the same thing in the comments section below on YouTube. So if you are on YouTube, you should hit that subscribe button if you have not done that already, and ring that little bell for notifications and drop those comments on there. If you are on the audio-only streams like iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play and Spotify and Anchor and whatnot, then you obviously can't leave a comment on those platforms, but you can leave a rating or some other kind of thing like that, and hop on over to YouTube or go to the page on smarkoutmoment.com. Tell us what you think on there. So, I got to specify ahead of time, we actually don't have a whole lot to talk about on this, because I think that it's kind of one of those easy things, and I'm going to kind of bury the lead here and basically say, jump ahead and say, all right, well, Candice and the Undisputed Era win, and that's like the majority of what I'm going to say here. But are you feeling that kind of thing when it comes to this? I'm not crapping on the card. I think the card's going to be good, but I do kind of feel like it's sort of one note. What do you feel?
In terms of, it's hard to not be excited for it because it's a takeover, and takeovers are always great. So I assume we're going to see a lot of great wrestling, a lot of very good matches put together. I kind of echo some of your thoughts in regards to the Undisputed Era and everything regarding that side of things, but I hope it isn't as cut and dry as that. Overall, though, for a takeover show in particular, I think the build for this has been pretty flat. I just don't feel like anything's really been happening. I mean, the one with the best build is probably Candice versus Io, and that's the match that has the least amount of relevance really on this card.
Yeah, if anything, that's the one that could have potentially not been on this card. And that strikes me more as the type of thing that they would record at the pre-takeover tapings that's going to air on the next episode of on NXT on Wednesday, more than something that's actually something that would be on the card.
Yeah. I just feel like a lot of the stuff has been very... For NXT in particular, it's just been very uninspired, and they've also been devoting a lot of time to stuff that doesn't really seem to matter too much. I mean, they've been trying to build up Damian Priest at the same time, and Damian Priest is nowhere on this card. Tyler Breeze isn't on this card, even though he's been featuring a lot recently. It's just these matches, even though they have a huge amount of potential and they're probably going to be great because of the people involved, just don't feel like they've been given a good amount of attention devoted to them.
Yeah, they're kind of resting on their laurels a little bit. And some of these feuds are kind of like self-explanatory too, so they're kind of like, we already know that was something that could be a potential rematch, so let's just do the rematch. And they've really been filling this out more with this NXT Breakout tournament. And that's one of the first things I want to address here is they specifically said multiple times that this was going to have a final at TakeOver. And it seems like they're reneging on that.
It's whether they're reneging on it or they just haven't revealed it on... I mean, I've seen they have referred to it on TV with that regard, but just because I guess William Regal hasn't strictly said it on TV, or they haven't done the final video package building up to it, that they haven't officially announced it for TakeOver, but I'd be very surprised if it didn't take place there.
Well, that would be the 6th match, and they've never really done a 6th match. So
the first few takeovers had a few 6 ones.
They did?
I know they've been... Well, I did, if you want to dig into the archives, smarkoutmoment.com, and dig out my review of the top 25 takeovers of all time. Some of them have 6 matches on them. But they were very early on. They have stuck quite rigidly to the 5 format, but Triple H has said on conference calls that he doesn't want to just have it completely fixed at 5 all the time. If the situation calls for 6, then 6 could be fine. I don't think that would ruin it that much.
No, I think that they actually have it well within their grasp to be able to do that. And I'd be cool with some of the matches not going on for 25, 30 minutes if it ends up being 6 matches. And you figure you can whittle away a couple minutes for the other 5 matches, and you've got enough time. Especially if they were to, I mean, they seem to be pretty stuck on this half an hour pre-show, which is a lot easier to digest than the hour-long pre-show. But if they were to do an hour-long pre-show, they could do the half an hour worth of the pre-show recap type stuff, and then the other half an hour includes another match. Like, they can easily do it. It's not like they gotta, like, adhere to some sort of regulations or something. They own the damn brand, so it's not a problem with that. So it's just a strange thing, and I'm getting more and more to where I'm thinking that they're just not going to do that. I think that they're going to do this as that pre-takeover taping and air it on Wednesday, and it's kind of a shame because the people that are on this tournament, they were advertising it ahead of time, like flat out. It wasn't like an assumption. They were specifically saying that it was going to happen at TakeOver, and once we had the finals set, I just assumed that would be like, all right, here's the graphic, we're going to do that. Nothing on WWE.com, nothing on the last episode. Now, this episode hasn't aired yet. Depending on when you're listening to this, we're recording it at 3:15 on Wednesday afternoon, so we got a couple more hours before this latest episode will clarify that one way or another. So they might say yes or no, but I don't know. I got a feeling that it's probably going to be on the next Wednesday episode instead. And that sucks because that's already going to tell you who won based off of the spoilers.
Yeah, it would be a shame if it was taken off of that card if they had promised it initially. But honestly, and it's me maybe delving into the negative side of things, which is rare on an NXT podcast, I have not been a fan of this tournament.
I can see some criticism behind it, yeah.
I kind of feel like, even though I knew a lot of these people from their time on the independent circuit, like certain people would wrestle for TNA and Ring of Honor and many other places like that, I feel like I know less about them after this tournament than I did going into it. It's just, it was very just cut and dry matches where you didn't really learn a huge amount about their characters. They didn't really show a huge amount of personality, and I think they've chosen two of the, I don't want to say weaker wrestlers, because I know Cameron Grimes and the former ACH, whatever his name is now,
Jordan Myles.
Again, they've got stupid names, so I can't. It's Trevor Lee against ACH in my mind, but it just they don't really come across as, wow, this is TakeOver. And I know that's because they're new, even though I know how good both of them can be in the ring, but it just isn't. It doesn't feel special.
Yeah, this is not the same equivalent as when they were doing like the Mae Young Classic and putting it on Evolution.
Yeah. Also, it's just a case of how ridiculous the tournament is in its concept, because, and I don't know if, I assume it has been brought up every now and again, but it's the idea of these 8 guys have gone from the Performance Center into a tournament where one of them will win a championship opportunity.
Yeah, they get a title opportunity for whichever championship that they choose, too. Not even like, oh, you might get a North American title shot if you win this or something. It's like, no, you get to pick. You're, not necessarily like Money in the Bank rules where you can't just be like, I want a match right now, but the winner of this does get to pick not only the championship, but, they get that title shot to begin with.
Yeah. It's just because, like, but then there's a ton of guys that have been in NXT treading water for so long, like Keith Lee, Dijakovic, Damian Priest has just come in, Tyler Breeze is doing nothing, Jackson Riker could be doing some other things, and just these 8 guys have just come in and tried to, well, at least one of those 8 guys is going to come in and completely leapfrog them for a championship opportunity.
And I got a feeling that no matter who were to win this, that they wouldn't stand much of a chance anyway, because, like I said at the beginning of this, the Undisputed Era, I'm assuming, wins all these titles tonight. Not tonight, but that they win all these titles, and then I can't imagine anybody, no matter how good they are out of this tournament, being somebody that takes one of those championships away, unless they wait like months down the line to have this title shot. But
no, none of the people have been built up strong enough to be seen as legitimate contenders. It just seems like this championship opportunity is a way to show that this is a guy that we may have something to do with down the line, but we're just going to try and introduce him hot and then call him back down afterwards, and he'll just become one of the other mid-carders in NXT for a while.
yeah, it's like, let's put them straight at the top, and then our work is done for us, and then the rest of it's going to be, well, remember, he got that title shot. Like, the way that, like, again, they use the phrase resting on the laurels, when they can refer to somebody like a Jinder Mahal as a former WWE champion, and that automatically is supposed to give him credit in a match. So it'll be like, say Cameron Grimes wins, it'll be like, well, he did win that NXT Breakout tournament, so that's why it's a big deal that he's losing this match right now, or that's a big deal why he's contending for this title shot, or,
Yeah.
So let's break down the people that have been in this tournament, because I think it's worth talking about the people that haven't advanced to the final, even if the final isn't actually on there, because the final's either airing on TakeOver or on the episode that follows it, so we might as well give our prediction anyway. But we had Dexter Lumis against Bronson Reed, Isaiah Swerve Scott and Cameron Grimes, Angel Garza against Joaquin Wilde, and Jordan Myles against Boa. Dexter Lumis, I don't remember anything about Samuel Shaw from TNA except for the fact that we used to make fun of his name, and it was just like, Samuel Shaw.
He was a creepy stalker character that I think his most famous run in TNA, if you can call it that, was his feud where he was essentially just stalking Christy Hemme.
Yeah, he was like inspired by a little bit of American Psycho, and now this is 100%. The Dexter Lumis character is based off of Dexter, and the Loomis name comes from the Halloween character, Dr. Loomis. So I already wrote him off as being like, all right, Samuel Shaw was a boring name. I don't remember him from NXT, from TNA. His NXT thing, now it's a couple years later. He's probably not even as good as he was back then. And the name is like, okay, it's being pretty transparent. And I got to say, he was one of my standout people from this Breakout tournament.
I completely agree. He's the one that really stood out to me of everyone. Because the reason why, and it's a weird, he was a character. The rest of these guys, not to take anything away from their wrestling ability, but the rest of them were just guys from the independent circuit who are wrestlers. This guy had a presence about him.
He carried himself as somebody who wants to be a WWE superstar as opposed to somebody who's wrestling on the indies.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he actually managed to be entertaining enough in the ring to beat out those other people, in my mind, as far as being interesting. Because if you're your whole deal is just, well, aren't I athletic? And it doesn't matter if I have no character. You should be more athletic than the guy who does have the character. And he's big and he's jumping around with a lot of agility. And I'm like, goddamn, why didn't this guy get into the final?
He has a clear idea about where he wants the character to go, and he's developed it well in the time that he's been in NXT. And yeah, it's taking on the old Samuel Shaw. It's taking aspects of the old Samuel Shaw character, but he's now much more athletic. He's much more. It's become more flamboyant, maybe over the top, really, but in a good way.
Yeah, I'm disappointed he lost first round, especially to Bronson Reed, who I did not feel anything real positive coming out of that match, or the other one against Cameron Grimes.
I like him in the fact that, but again, there's this growing trend of the big guy that can do a lot of athletic stuff. I mean, I'm watching the G1 Climax right now, and you've got Jeff Cobb doing the same thing. You could look at people like Samoa Joe, who do a lot of diving moves, despite the fact of their size.
Keith Lee.
So, yeah, so it's not like it's a unique. It's obviously a very impressive thing, but it's not a unique trait anymore. And I think he has potential. So I don't want to write him off completely, but yeah, it wasn't like a big breakout moment for him. Pardon the
pun. Isaiah Swerve Scott. I hate that name in so many different ways. It's pretty bland, but that's Shane Strickland for people who know him more by that. He's pretty impressive. At the same time, I feel like he's somebody who needs a little bit more time before they start really kind of pushing him. He had his match against Drew Gulak on a 205 Live episode, and he's popped up here, and I haven't seen him in Evolve or some other kind of thing, so I've pretty much known him primarily from this Breakout tournament and that Gulak match, and I think he's got something behind him. Like, he's entertaining, but he doesn't stand out to me as being somebody who's like, oh my god, mark it down, future world champion type or anything quite yet.
I'm most familiar with his work from Lucha Underground, where he went as a Kill Shot. Who's like this masked wrestler who had a military background, and he contested one of the most like matches that I'll never forget in regards of the match that he had with Dante Fox in one of the like big shows that they had. It was a 3 Stages of Hell match where there were like essentially parts of their body almost laying apart in the ring. It was so gruesome and violent.
Mm.
But this guy has a lot of. He has a great. From what I've seen, he can talk very well, so that's obviously a good plus point. He comes across very charismatic. I was surprised that he didn't go further in this tournament just because he's a name that people will recognise immediately on the indies. So he could have had a bit more pull about him. Like, there'd be more people familiar with him than, say, probably the Jonah Rock, obviously, which Bronson Reed or Boa or people along those sort of lines. So I'm surprised they didn't push him a little bit further, but I think he's definitely got an opportunity on NXT.
He's somebody that makes sense, I think, for somebody to put in this tournament as being like, well, we can trust him enough to go out there and make it seem like he's a big enough deal, even if he doesn't go all the way to semifinal or anything like that. But I bought more into him being a part of this than even Cameron Grimes, and he's in the final. I'm not impressed in Cameron Grimes.
He's it's somebody that he needs to be one of the best people you can ever see in the ring because of the way he looks. Because the way he looks is not impressive, and I know we shouldn't be judging people, especially in a wrestling thing, but it is a looks-based industry as much as anything else, especially on television. And he's very
milquetoast.
Yeah, exactly. It's just he needs to be ultra impressive to get past that stigma, and for a long time in Impact Wrestling, he was one of the best wrestlers that they had on the entire roster and showed it off. And again, we have to see his character develop because at the moment he doesn't feel like he has a character right now.
Is he under 205? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure he could pass for it. I can't say for certain, but I imagine that he's probably around about that level. He used to wrestle in there. It was a long-term X Division champion, so I assume he'd fit under that sort of category.
Wikipedia has him listed as 220. So
he's definitely he's definitely that seems like a pronounced weight rather than your actual weight.
Yeah, that could definitely, and they could just lie too. Like, nobody would care. He strikes me as the type of person who could be a benefit for the 205 Live roster, and will never make it past that point. Now, I could be totally wrong, and obviously for his career and everything else, like, I hope that I'm wrong when I'm ever like casting somebody in such a negative light. But I just can't imagine it being like, all right, Cameron Grimes gets the same type of push as like I don't know, like a Seth Rollins or something, you know? Like, it's just, it doesn't strike me as in the cards.
No, not at this point in time anyway.
We had Joaquin Wilde, who was DJZ, Zima Ion, Shima Ion, whatever you want to call him. He's going by a bunch of different names. Probably like 20 different names if I remember correctly. Michael Montecarlo is apparently one of them. Michael Paris is his real name. So he's been around for quite a while. He's still only 32, which is really good that he got so much time in Impact and was able to actually come to WWE and all that. Not a fan of that Joaquin Wilde name.
No, the name's an issue. I really like the guy though. I think he's an excellent wrestler. He's got a great backstory with the fact of having to come back from the
Injury.
I can't remember the thing exactly. I don't know if it was.
What was it, like a punctured kidney or something like that?
Yes, something to that effect, where he had to have a like a colostomy bag for a while and stuff along those lines. So it's just, I think that almost made me feel like it was could have propelled him further forward in this tournament because he has the backstory behind him of like somebody who's come back from adversity and is now in NXT and is now part of the biggest wrestling organization in the world. You could have done something a little bit more of that. I'm sure they will do in time because he's got a lot of experience behind him. He's definitely a great wrestler. So yeah, I see a lot of positives in pushing him further forward.
They do have him up against Shane Thorne for this episode that's going to air tonight. I don't remember exactly who wins, but like that's at least something that they're kind of putting out there as being like, all right, well, he's not in the tournament anymore, but let's give him a different kind of spotlight. I got a feeling that Shane Thorne probably wins, though, which that's not really good. But yeah, he was more along the lines of somebody who I could have imagined at least going to the semifinals. And he happened to just be up against Angel Garza, who to me, Angel Garza should have been the replacement for Cameron Grimes. I think Garza's got something.
Oh, he's got a lot of flamboyance about him. I think, again, I'm watching G1 and there's very few people that do the like the pull the trousers off to reveal tights gimmick. Tai Chi's one of the people that does it in New Japan, but I haven't seen anyone do it. I know they did. That was something that Andrade was doing for a little bit, like this whole stripper kind of this gigolo kind of gimmick. But
yeah, he had that stupid hat and the suspenders. Yeah. I hated that look. So.
Yeah, it did work for him, but Garza pulls it off a lot better. He seems very charismatic. I think he's somebody who could really like benefit from it. He's someone who does have a good character about him already, even if it is a bit one-dimensional. I think there's enough room for like a hot guy character. That's perfectly fine to have that sort of character around.
Yeah, and he was great in the ring from his 2 matches, and he carries himself well. I think that he's the type of guy that they could very easily hotshot to the main roster pretty soon. Not like pretty soon being like, next month they're going to like, bring him up for Survivor Series or something like that. But like, I imagine he comes up in 2020.
Yeah, he's a fun act.
So I'm surprised that he didn't make it further. Boa, I'm not surprised didn't make it further, but I am surprised in Boa. He's fucking big. Like, he's tall, and he moved pretty damn well. And I got a feeling that with some more time in the Performance Center and working through the NXT house show loops and dealing with a lot of different people that can kind of steer him in the right direction, Boa could be somebody, maybe.
I think they hope that he can be somebody because of obviously the Chinese background. It's good to have somebody from that representing that such a large mass of people. And they could obviously use that going forward if they decide to tour China going forward or along those lines. But he didn't really stand out to me. I think that there's definitely something to be moulded there, but I don't see a huge ceiling for him. I mean, the ceiling is high based on where he's from. I mean, just look at who's the guy that won the Battle Royal? Mansoor?
Yeah, he hasn't done anything since then.
Oh yeah, he hasn't done anything since then, but at least he'll be able to be considered like a big part. I mean, they put Bin Wang on episodes of not episodes, but like put him in a Battle Royal and WrestleMania and put him into like house shows they did when they were touring in China just because of where he's from. So if he's anywhere decent, then this guy could go pretty far.
And then we have Jordan Myles, who is the other half of the final between him and Cameron Grimes and former ACH, Albert Hardy Jr. He's gone by 3 names already in WWE. Fun in the ring. I don't know if I really would put him as being somebody who would be like, another like world champion in the future type of thing or something. He kind of strikes me, and this isn't just the way that like he looks and stuff like that, but he kind of strikes me as another Apollo Crews, where it's like he has a good look to him and he's entertaining in the ring, but maybe the personality aspect is lacking.
I think he's a great wrestler. I've seen enough of him to know how good a wrestler is. He does absolutely nothing for me. And on just a fan level, he smiles too much. He's very one-dimensional in that regard, just being like this really positive guy. I don't see an edge to him, a conflict within him where I'd see. There's certain other people that have one-dimensional characters, but at least they're different from other ones. His character is, I smile a lot and wrestle.
Yeah, he's got the Jack Swagger thing. He's not pointing at the smile yet, but he might as well be.
No. And at least Jack Swagger had a bit, like, he knew that was corny and decided to play with it this much. This just seems to be what Jordan Myles is like. And he's a really positive, happy guy, then good for him. He's doing better than most of us in that regard. But I didn't connect with him. And I've never really connected with ACH in any of his former formats. He just seemed like a guy who was there to do a cool match in the undercard and go no further than that.
So who do you think's going to end up winning this between Grimes and Myles? Because I'm thinking it's Myles, if not just by the Undisputed Era type thing, because I can't see Grimes going up against like Roderick Strong or Adam Cole, because he seems more like a heel to me.
I think Myles will probably win. He's been in NXT longer, so maybe he has a bit more tenure to him. And yeah, I think Triple H sees something in him that maybe other people aren't seeing. But Triple H does have his favourites, and I think it could be Myles' time to do that side of things. I think Grimes will need a bit more tuning up, or need to have a bit more character development before he can get that sort of opportunity. Whereas at least Myles, due to his athleticism and babyface nature, could just get an opportunity pretty quickly and get some sort of reaction for it.
So that match might be bumped off the card, and in its place, it seems, is Candice LeRae against Io Shirai. Now, Io Shirai turned heel. She's dressing in black now. That's basically the storyline behind that, but it does have a little bit of a setup of her attacking Candice after the cage match and them kind of wanting to have their match together and everything like that. I do feel like this is something that would have been better off maybe for the NXT episode after TakeOver rather than TakeOver itself, but it's still good that it's happening because it gives more notoriety to it, so I'm not like annoyed about that. And I feel like this has to be a Candice LeRae win. I think that she needs to move on to that Shayna Baszler thing, and a win over Io Shirai here kind of puts her as the new number one contender.
I like the fact that this match is on TakeOver instead, because it's just so interesting that this is Candice LeRae's first TakeOver match.
Wasn't she in like a Fatal 4-Way or something?
I don't think so. I think maybe if I'm no, because the Fatal 4-Way from previously, this thing was Shirai, Sane, and Belair against Baszler for the title.
And she came out and did something or whatever during something.
Yeah, so I think this is actually her first TakeOver match. So I'm pleased that she's getting that opportunity. And I think this feud merits it. It's the idea that they've built up that Shirai couldn't get the job done against Shayna Baszler and decided to turn her back on her friends because she doesn't need friends anymore. They've done nothing for her. And LeRae's been caught in the crossfire for that, even though she's tried to help her at every step of the way. I think that you need to cement the Shirai heel turn by having her go over on this one. Just because it's only been recently that she's turned, it's only a month or so in the making. You need to have her look dominant, need to establish her as a big powerhouse. Not as a powerhouse, but like this new edge to her that she didn't previously have, because she was always very happy-go-lucky, high-flying. She's still trying to have those high-flying aspects, but now she's got a bitterness, an edge about her that she didn't have before. And I think it's fine that you could have these two have their first match takeover. Io Shirai wins, Candice LeRae gets a victory and maybe a number one contenders match they have later on down the line in some sort of grudge match on NXT TV, and then that's how she gets the match with Baszler. So, but I think right now Shirai needs that establishment and get the victory for the first time against LeRae, and LeRae gets her win back down the line.
It could go either way. I think that,
yeah.
Well, the next TakeOver is going to be the one before Survivor Series, so we do have time. They've got however many weeks that is. I'm not going to do the math off the top of my head, but we got September, we've got October, and we've got a portion of November that we got to get through. So they could drag this out a little bit further and kind of do like a 3-match type thing or something like that, just to kind of set that up. But I'm cool with it either way. If Shirai wins, then it's a way to establish her more. If LeRae wins, then it's a good way to put her in a number one contender spot. So I think the match will be like pretty good. Maybe not the best on the card. Actually, I got a feeling that it's probably going to be the worst on the card, but that's not saying anything bad about it, because the rest of the card, I mean, these performers are great, so it's like, this is going to be better than 75% of the card on SummerSlam. I would put that out there.
I think these two are going to go out there with the intention of trying to better both the other women's match on this card and pretty much anything else they can do on there. I think LeRae in particular knows that this is a big opportunity to stand out after being passed over so many times over.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this will be very good. I'm almost certain it'll be very good, but I'm hoping they will take it to another level, and I think both of these two have the potential to do so.
The Street Profits are defending the NXT Tag Team Championship against the Undisputed Era's Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. And I think that the fact that the Street Profits have been on Monday Night Raw, and there's this whole Undisputed Era are going to win all the titles kind of prophecy thing, it's pretty obvious that they're losing those belts.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about the Street Profits' reign, because essentially they've just feuded and had title defenses against all the guys that were in that ladder match. And now they're just coming up against the last team that's in that ladder match, which was the Undisputed Era. I would have hoped for a slightly longer reign, but I'm pretty sure, based on the fact that they're almost certainly moving up to the main roster now, because they're pretty much on it at this point, and you've got the prophecy to fulfill, Undisputed Era should get the victory here. And it should be a good match as well, because I've never seen a match with the Undisputed Era in a tag team setting that hasn't been great.
Yeah, I think actually this might be the sleeper match.
Like, well, the tag team match is always the sleeper match on these cards.
It's hard to kind of not see that trend happening. And every time around that I think that it might not necessarily be the best match, it ends up being one of the best matches for sure. And I'm past the point of being like, well, it's the tag team match, so that's probably not going to matter as much. Like, these guys are going to kill it.
It means a very different thing in NXT than on the main roster. And just every time I see them, I get more and more impressed with both members of the Street Profits. I know people obviously say Montez Ford, he's got absolutely freakish athleticism. His frog splash is one of the best I've ever seen. He gets so much height on those moves. But Dawkins has a lot of character and charisma. He seems like a really cool dude. And I'm just happy that I know eventually they're going to split and Montez Ford is going to be the big deal coming out of it, but I would hope for a bit more for Dawkins, because he's some guy that had to get thrown around a couple of tag teams before he found the one that fits him. And
because it's certainly not Sawyer Fulton.
Yeah, and I just don't think he gets enough credit for the like part that he plays in making the Street Profits as good as they are.
It's a duo right now, and yeah, Montez is definitely the one that has more breakout potential, but at the same time, if it was just Montez Ford by himself, I don't think that he'd be getting that kind of a spotlight.
I always think that Ford is the big spot guy, and Dawkins is the actual wrestler that holds things together. And Montez Ford is getting a lot better in that regards, but I still think Dawkins has a bit more seasoning about him.
And they play off each other really well when it comes to the promos, too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Montez Ford by himself, or Dawkins by himself, it just wouldn't have that same kind of rhythm behind it.
Definitely not yet, anyway. And the Undisputed Era, I mean, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish are one of the best tag teams in the world, and have been for better part of a decade now. So they should be able to put on a great match in this regard. So yeah, but I'm in agreement with you that the Undisputed Era will win this one.
And that kind of carries on into the next thing, too, because the North American Championship is on the line in a triple threat match. Velveteen Dream going in as champion, Roderick Strong challenging, and for some reason, they just were like, let's throw Pete Dunne in there. I don't understand the Pete Dunne element. Maybe it's just because it's like, fuck it, we don't have anything for him to do at TakeOver Cardiff, let's put him on here. Or they just wanted it to be a better match, because all three of these guys are great. So yeah, if they would have been Dream against Strong, that would have been good. Dream against Dunne, that would have been good. Strong against Dunne, that's good. Throw them all together, why the fuck not? But I still think that this boils down to Roderick Strong wins that title. And maybe they want to have Pete Dunne in here because maybe they want Dunne to take the pinfall. And then they can kind of drag on Velveteen Dream against Roderick Strong in like a one-on-one match on one of those future episodes of NXT in September, the rest of August, whatever. But I still think it's just ultimately Roderick Strong wins that title because they got to win all those belts.
I would say from the outset that this match is going to rule the entire weekend, and arguably could be the best match on the entire, between this, SummerSlam, and anything else, really. This match is going to absolutely blow people's socks off. But I don't like how this match has come together. See, even though I like the end product, the build up to it has been really clunky, with Strong lost the night before. Well, essentially on the last takeover, he lost to Matt Riddle, who's not even on this card. And then he pinned Velveteen Dream in a tag match, and you kind of think, okay, so he pinned the champion, he gets the next title shot. But then, like, Pete Dunne is inserted, like you said, and I did kind of find it quite funny with the idea that Regal just put Pete Dunne in the match, and Roderick Strong says, "Oh, that's unfair, that's biased." And he said, "Yep." Because he's British and Dunne's British, and so we're going to put him in the match if he can. And then he loses to Pete Dunne 1-on-1 in a match leading up to this. I just think, I know the idea is, and it's been the point that's been hammered home, is Undisputed Era win all the gold. But I really struggle to think, what has Roderick Strong really done to deserve to be in this match? Why is it realistically, based on the way the build has been, it should be Velveteen Dream against Pete Dunne.
Right.
And the fact that Strong is in it is only because they want to give the title to him, potentially to be the North American champion. The slight caveat I have on this one is it would be very interesting, because they sowed some seeds earlier in the year, the idea that Strong is the weak link. Again, a bit of an oxymoron there.
Yeah, Roderick weak.
Yeah. But it's the idea that he's the one that will blow his chance where the other ones will succeed, and that's how he gets kicked out of the Undisputed Era and then gets built back up to eventually feud with Adam Cole over the title. So if any member of the Undisputed Era is going to lose the match here, it's going to be Strong.
Yeah.
The interesting thing would be whether they decide to give the title to Pete Dunne, because there isn't much for him to do in NXT UK at the moment while they've got Walter feuding with Tyler Bate and all the other stuff. Or whether they keep it on Dream for a while and then Dream has another challenger. I just don't know with Dream what else is there left to do other than go after the NXT Championship or go to the main roster.
That's where I get kind of confused about maybe where their direction is going to be leading, because Adam Cole is going to retain. I'm just assuming that. And there's a chance that they have Adam Cole versus Tommaso Ciampa at where's WrestleMania? Tampa. So yeah. I guess it's just going to be NXT TakeOver Tampa or something. But that, I think, is the big match that they can lead up to, Cole versus Ciampa, and that gives him more time to heal up and everything. And
I see the big match is Cole versus Riddle.
Riddle's the other one, yeah. If it's not Ciampa, it's Riddle.
Yeah, I think the match with Ciampa would be one of either the one that's the pre-Survivor Series one or the pre-Royal Rumble one. There's like a build-up to it.
The pre-Survivor Series one, that's going to be War Games again. So that, I'm kind of assuming, is going to be the Undisputed Era against some other kind of foursome with like maybe Gargano and either Riddle or Ciampa and like Velveteen Dream and Pete Dunne, or maybe instead of Riddle and Ciampa, maybe it's like Gargano and Dream and Street Profits or something like that. Like, they could play around with some things like that.
Be interesting if they did that and put all 4 titles on the line.
Yeah, it's a whole like winner takes all type thing. Or it could end up being that they take that off and it ends up being the 4 members of the Undisputed Era against the 4 members of Imperium. They could do something like that. I don't think that they're going to do that, but they could. And they have enough time that they can kind of play around with some other challengers. Like Cole can face... It's either going to be Riddle or Ciampa, I would assume, for the big takeover for WrestleMania. But then there's the other one, whoever they don't do. And there's Keith Lee. And there's Velveteen Dream. And they could do Pete Dunne against Adam Cole. And I'm assuming that they can kind of move on past the Gargano thing at this point. And at that point, too, Roderick Strong, if he were to lose, then Roderick Strong versus Adam Cole. That makes perfect sense to do that if they split them up. So Cole's got a lot of options. And I'm leaning more towards the idea that Roderick Strong retains because he does have a lot of options, so they don't need to do Strong and Cole.
You mean Strong wins? He wouldn't be retaining a title that he
Oh,
hasn't
yeah.
won yet.
Well, yeah, I think that he wins.
He retains
and
the title of
then-
being strong.
Yeah,
He's not Roderick.
he retains being a member of the Undisputed Era.
Yeah, he retains. Yeah, the armband is more valuable than the thing around his waist.
Yeah, that way they don't have to change that logo either on like the merchandise and stuff.
I mean, that's the real important thing.
Yeah, but I think that that's how it kind of plays out. I think that Strong wins the title here, and then over the course of the rest of August, because this is pretty early. I mean, we still have a couple episodes in August that we got to get through. They go through August, they go through September, October, and into November. When the hell is the one in November? When is Survivor Series? Is it the middle of November, or is it the end of it?
I mean, you're the one with the website with the schedule.
I am the one with that kind of stuff, so I should probably take a look at that while I'm doing this. That is taking place November 23rd, so we have a lot of taping time.
Yeah, there's a lot of open space to do some real big, like, storyline development and have like important matches on actual NXT TV as well.
Yeah, so that's where I see Strong having a rematch with the Velveteen Dream, and potentially a match with Pete Dunne. And if they do something like the War Games thing, where it's all people like all four Undisputed Era against each other, against some kind of a foursome, then that kind of excuses the idea of having all the championships and stuff. And then God knows what else they put on there. Maybe it's like Keith Lee in a spot against Dominik Dijakovic, or I don't know how they fill out the rest of that card, but I could see Dunne and Dream being the two that kind of keep this feud going on with Strong for a little bit. And then, actually, for that matter, Jordan Myles, I think that he wins that breakout thing, and then Jordan Myles gets a shot at Strong, more so than Cole.
Yeah, that makes plenty of sense, really. I think if Myles was to win, you'd obviously face a heel, and so it'd be interesting if he decided to go after the main championship, just because it's the main championship. Of course, that's the one you want to win, but obviously he might see a bit more opportunity in taking on the North American champion instead.
They could always just do some kind of thing where Roderick Strong, like, Jordan Myles wrestles some kind of a match against somebody. He beats, like, who's like a jobber? What's that guy's name? Noah something or other. Kona Reeves.
Noah Kakoa.
Yeah, I was like, I couldn't remember his name. Jordan Myles has some match against Kona Reeves, beats him, and then Roderick Strong comes out and does like the whole like, oh, he's clapping and being all like, that doesn't mean anything, like you're not a champion or whatever. Then they can just easily set up something like that and bypass Adam Cole, or he could just face Adam Cole and just Adam Cole fucking beats him, like there's ways for them to do that. And that's another reason why I think Myles wins that instead of Grimes, because I can't picture Grimes being in that kind of position.
No. Yeah, it makes more sense for Myles to just take a loss to either Strong or Cole.
And we talked about it. Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano. They have another 2 out of 3 falls match, and the stipulations for this time is there's going to be a different stipulation or gimmick for each one of those 2 out of 3 falls. The first one that they clarified is a regular match, which is like, what? Like,
well, I think I like the idea they explained it with Cole's the one that chose the regular wrestling match because he wants to show Johnny Gargano that he can out wrestle him. And so, because Johnny Gargano is Johnny Wrestling, and so if Cole wins the wrestling match, then he can't go around calling himself Johnny Wrestling anymore because he lost that match. Yeah,
and I just kind of think that it's funny that it's like, lots of gimmicks here, and the first one is normal. It's like,
it's not too unfamiliar with certain. I've definitely seen some other. I think the Triple H against Austin 3 stages of Hell match they had started with just a singles match.
And that's basically what this is. It's a 3 stages of Hell type of match. It's just not an Inferno match and a last man standing match and Kendo stick on a pole match or something. It's like, it's 3 stages. Wow, my voice cracked there. It's 3 stages of hell. 3 stages of hell.
It's 3 stages of hell with the Undertaker.
Oh, yes. The second one is a street fight.
Yeah, that's right. That's right up their street. fight.
So the third one is going to be picked by William Regal, and they may clarify what that is on this episode of NXT that hasn't aired yet.
I imagine they will, yeah.
But they also might not. They might save that for the idea of being, well, if it comes down to that, then it's going to be something. So in case they say it tonight, what do you think that the third one's going to be? I think it's Last Man Standing.
I think that there's only really 3 choices for this kind of finality thing. It's a ladder match, a last man standing match, or an I Quit match.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's kind of the only. It's kind of like the big way you can add some real finality to it, unless oh my god, for some reason they have a steel cage suspended over the the ring for some odd reason. That could potentially be a thing.
I talked with Rob about that a little bit because he thinks that it's going to be a steel cage, and for the same reason, I was like, well, if they have a steel cage just hanging up there, it's coming down, it's going to be the 3 fall kind of thing, and we all know that's going to come to the 3rd fall no matter what, but like that does spoil that especially if they didn't announce that ahead of time, and then it's just like, I wonder why there's a cage hanging up. But I do feel like that would be a mistake to do because the next one is War Games, and if they have a cage happen like that, it kind of makes it a little bit less interesting to do the War Games thing.
Yeah, I think the cage has also been overdone recently because they had that Shirai, Shayna Baszler match a couple of weeks ago as well for the title. So I don't think there's any real need to have a steel cage to finish off this one. But there's obviously the potential of doing that. I do like the fact that they say like Regal deciding if it needs to go to a 3rd fall, as if there's any possibility that it won't go to a 3rd fall.
Yeah,
I know
it's wrestling. We know how this plans out.
Yeah, no, they do occasionally like throw a few spanners in the works where they occasionally have people go 2-0, but I think this is a sort of situation where you have to go all the distance. I mean, this is another match that could potentially steal the entire weekend. We know how good these two work together.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 3rd time in a row, so it eventually becomes a bit more of the law of diminishing returns. But I think if this is it, they'll go all out to make it as great as it possibly can be. So I'm looking forward to it.
To bring our food analogies in when it comes to like the 60 Superstars tournament and stuff, Cole versus Gargano is something that has proven itself as a great meal that it might not be, now that we've seen it a bunch of times, I might not be super excited for it the way that I would if it was something different and special and I only get it once a year or something like that. But I know that it's reliable. So like I got a place around me that makes amazing tortellini Alfredo, and tortellini Alfredo you can get like practically anywhere. But I know if I want tortellini Alfredo, I'm going to get it from this one place, and it's going to be good every fucking time. But if I'm like, oh man, I'm so excited to try this, no, I know that I'm going to like it. So I know I'm going to like Cole versus Gargano, but at the same time, I'm not sitting there going, oh my god, guys, can't wait for Cole versus Gargano, because I've already seen them. I've already seen them in a 2 out of 3 falls match. I've already seen them multiple times. It's going to be great. That's like a guarantee.
Oh yeah, so can look forward to that side of things. But I think this is the limit now. This has to be the cutoff. End it for a while. Yeah, end it for a while.
And the only other match we haven't talked about yet is the NXT Women's Championship match, which is not going to be the main event. The Colt Gargano one is, but we just, flow of speaking about it, we kind of bounced around. And there is a chance that Mia Yim wins this, but I think that it's maybe like a 30% chance. I still think that Shayna Baszler is going to drop that title to Candice LeRae. And I'm kind of assuming that it happens on the War Games one. I don't know if they're going to keep her maybe even longer, because they could keep her up until WrestleMania or longer after that. But this whole thing's weird because the War Games thing happens after the Fox move, and I had thought before that there was a good chance that Baszler would move to the main roster for that. But WWE has also made that weird mistake in the past where they've had the Viking Raiders and now the Street Profits and plenty of other people that have been champion in NXT still come up to the main roster. So she could very well come up to the main roster and still be the champion and lose at War Games, or they can just have her do double duty, or I don't know. But I lean still more towards the idea that it would be strange to me if Mia Yim won versus if Baszler retained.
In terms of like the championship coming up to the main roster, I don't see that as necessarily a mistake because it gets more eyes on NXT if their champions are on Raw or SmackDown. So I kind of see that as a benefit. But in terms of this one, even though I've been a bit down on the build overall, I really appreciate that the story leading into this one is that Mia Yim has taken out both Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, because that has essentially been Shayna Baszler's ace in the pack, is she can call on her friends to help her out, and that's been the case in most of her title defenses in the previous year or so.
Who's the Diamond and Club?
Uh,
Because he got the ace in the pack, and she's the Queen of Spades.
Well, the Diamond is I'm trying to think who the Diamond would be. There's only one Diamond in this industry, and that's Triple H. So there's
It's Aladdin. He's the diamond in the rough.
yeah, but I'd probably say
Simon
Shafir is
Diamond?
probably. Or Dustin Diamond gets Screech out here as well.
Yeah, there you go. That's how they crossover. You want to bring celebrities in? Get fucking Screech to pop up on an NXT takeover event.
He was on that Hulk Hogan reality that
Ugh.
game show thing that they did with those wrestlers, with all these celebrities pretending to be wrestlers, with him and Dennis Rodman and a couple
Awful.
other people. Yeah, it was terrible. I still
Now,
watched
what
these
if that ends up being the thing where, like, how they show those people in the crowd, and it's like, oh, look at this big signing or whatever. It's fucking Dustin Diamond. Oh, that would be funny.
But I do appreciate that that's been the story of her taking them out, so it's going to be one-on-one. I like the fact they've built Mia Yim up quite prominently, because the idea of she hasn't just been handed opportunity, like we're going to talk about with Ember Moon on the SummerSlam card. She's had to earn it. She's had to win matches. She's been unbeaten for a while. She beat Bianca Belair, which is no mean feat, and now she gets this title opportunity. And I think that's been a good story building up to it. I don't think it's cut and dry that Baszler was to win this one, but the smart money always goes on Shayna Baszler in NXT. So until I kind of when I feel a bit more confident with the idea of Baszler dropping the title, I'm going to back her to win. So you're going with Baszler to retain the title here. Would not be against me in winning that.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be something that would be weird, because she has been built up pretty well, and I like Mia Yim.
Yeah, it just depends on whether you want the next feud to really be Candice LeRae against Shayna Baszler for the title, or maybe Mia Yim versus Bianca Belair for the title.
Yeah, or Mia Yim against Io Shirai. You can do that too.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential either way. I think after a sort of maybe a mini lull period, the women's division's really coming back to prominence in NXT now, which I'm all for.
I think that they got a lot of different people that are easy to kind of build on. They got Casey Catanzaro. They've got some people that actually have not been brought into the mix yet. Like, I still think that Jessie Camilla has something to offer. I still think that they could do something eventually with Lacey Lane when she becomes a part of the main roster.
I think Chelsea Green, as soon as she comes up, is ready-made to be a top contender.
Yeah. She's got more than enough time and
Tegan Nox as well. Tegan Nox has been ready for a while. She's just so unfortunate with injuries.
Yeah. If they can hold off on giving her a huge push just to kind of let her work through some of that ring rust and do all that, then I actually think that she's going to be more part of NXT UK. But then again, Dakota Kai at some point is going to come back.
Yeah. I mean, they have been talking about the fact that they're trying to pretty much bring NXT 205 Live and NXT UK under one big universal banner where there's going to be a lot of crossovers. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tegan Nox was appearing on both of them, in the same way that Pete Dunne's appearing on this show after just appearing on NXT UK. So
makes sense.
I'm all for the crossover because it freshens things up.
Yeah. And that's why you can see Mustache Mountain pop up on an NXT episode, or you can see Gentleman Jack Gallagher pop up on NXT UK, or, that stuff's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Those are our thoughts on TakeOver. Really quickly, I did not plug a couple other things, so if you are interested in the next bunch of episodes that we've got going on, then we got SummerSlam coming up next for the predictions, and then eventually we're going to do our post-show for TakeOver and for SummerSlam. In the meantime, if you want to see more other types of content, maybe not necessarily in the meantime, but I will be trying to do something for Glow, and I'll either write up an article or I will do a review point or maybe both on Fanboys Anonymous, possibly Bleacher Report as well. I don't know. I'm quite sure about that. Rob's trying to convince me to try to figure out a way to do some kind of a Rocco review point for the new Rocco film that's coming out. So fanboysanonymous.com is where you're going to find any of that kind of stuff. And you should subscribe to that YouTube channel and follow the Facebook and Twitter that's on that. You should follow the Smark Out Moment Facebook and Twitter at Smark Out Moment. But if you want to be sure that there are more things happening both on Smark Out Moment and on Fanboys Anonymous, the best way to do that is to hit up the monetary side of things. Now, there's two potential ways that you can do that. One of them being the merchandise shops. They are TeePublic and Redbubble, where you can pick up merchandise that are not just the t-shirt side of things, but there's everything from shower curtains now, apparently, water bottles, clocks, stickers, all sorts of different things. Especially on Redbubble, they have a lot more options. But Redbubble and TeePublic are for Fanboys Anonymous for both, a Mango Tees for both, and Smark Out Moment for both. I actually recently put up a thing that's a parody of the Glow logo, which is just blow because I'm lame. But there's also the Patreon. Now, for the Patreon, that is if you donate $1 or $5 or $20 or whatever, there's different tiers, and those can lead to doing some extra special features in the future, because if there's the incentive for me to do that, and I can take that time away from some other kind of a thing, whether it's writing another article or working on some other kind of stuff, then I can actually apply that time to do stuff. So if you want more Fanboys content, the Patreon for Fanboys Anonymous is the best way for me to know that that's what you want. We were also talking about potentially doing a fan announce table of the Big Show episodes when that comes out. And if you donate and we hit that mark on that we talked about on the hot tags, then that is something as well to be aware of. But Callum has some other things that you should be aware of.
Okay, so 2001 and Wrestling Odyssey is my big thing on Smark Out Moment, which is the podcast series that I host alongside Robert DeFelice, where we travel back in time to the year 2001, the year where wrestling changed forever. WCW died, ECW died, WWE took over, and led to the situation where we are today. Good, bad, or indifferent. And so you can just follow on with us as we go month by month, reviewing the news and the big shows that took place that for time, talking to the Big Show. He features quite prominently on 2001, so you would see that as well. So most recent one was the July edition, where we talked about Invasion and the start of the Alliance storyline. And yeah, the August one will be coming out sometime soon. So make sure you're subscribed to Smark Out Moment on all our various platforms, so you can be able to see that when it comes out live. In terms of me, you can follow me on Twitter at Wikimeister14, and the Power Rankings is one of the weekly articles on smarkoutmoment.com, which I contribute, so you should be definitely checking those ones out because it's better than all the rest of them. But that's just my opinion.
Nothing wrong with confidence. So, yeah, stay tuned to smarkoutmoment.com and stay tuned to the YouTube channel. Tell us what you think about all the stuff that's happening at TakeOver and our thoughts and anything else that you want to talk about. And we will see you in the predictions for SummerSlam and the next bunch of episodes that I mentioned before. So thank you for listening, everybody. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.